Flamingos are pink, but they aren't born that way. If you've ever wondered why flamingos turn pink or how they get their beautiful vibrant color, then this is the video for you. So let's jump right into it. No. 1. It's all about their diet. Just like humans, flamingos can have different skin and feather colors depending on what they eat. Now, flamingos primarily eat algae and small crustaceans called brine shrimp. Both of these foods are naturally pink, and when the flamingos digest them, the pigment from the foods remains in their bodies. Over time, this pigment builds up in their feathers, giving them their signature pink color. This also explains why flamingos living in places with less algae and brine shrimp tend to be paler. In other words, the more pink food they eat, the pinker they become. Number 2, they're not born with that color. When flamingos hatch, their feathers are actually gray. You heard that right. Baby flamingos aren't born pink either. It takes them several months to start developing their rosy glow. This is because baby flamingos don't eat the same things that adult flamingos do. Instead, their diet consists mostly of fish eggs and fish. These foods don't contain the same pigments that make flamingos pink, so they stay gray until they're old enough to eat algae and brine shrimp. Also, just like adults, the pigments from these foods build up in their feathers over time. But instead of months, it now takes weeks for baby flamingos to turn pink. However, even after turning pink, they will still molt a few times before reaching their final adult pink color. No. 3. Their environment plays a role. As we mentioned earlier, flamingos living in areas with lots of pink algae and brine shrimp tend to be pinker. But their environment does more than just affect their color. It also affects their overall health. For example, flamingos living in polluted waters may not get enough of the pigments they need to turn pink. And if they don't get enough of these pigments, they may develop health problems down the road. Luckily though, captive flamingos usually have access to lots of pink foods, so they're able to stay healthy and turn the gorgeous pink color we all know and love. Number 4. There are different shades of pink. Even though we usually think of flamingos as being one color, there are actually different shades of pink. The lightest shade is called buff, while the deepest shade is called red. Sometimes flamingos can even be orange, but this is very rare. So rare, in fact, that no one has ever seen an orange flamingo in the wild. To make things even more confusing, some flamingos can change colors depending on the season. For example, during breeding season, male flamingos often develop a more intense pink color to attract mates. Females, on the other hand, tend to become paler during breeding season because they lose their outer pink feathers. Since females lose their outer feathers, this gives predators a better view of their pale gray underfeathers. In some species, this helps protect them from predators, but in others, it makes them more vulnerable. So why don't they just keep their pink feathers year-round? Well, keeping those bright pink feathers might attract predators looking for a tasty flamingo snack, so it's actually an advantage for them to become paler during breeding season. Number 5. Some flamingos are born with an extra gene. Most flamingos are pink because they have 2 copies of a certain gene. However, some flamingos are born with 3 copies of this gene. And having 3 copies of this gene results in a white or cream-colored flamingo. But even though these flamingos don't have the typical pink color, they're still part of the flamingo family. There are even some breeds of domestic chickens that have the same extra gene. So next time you see a flock of flamingos, take a close look. You just might see one that doesn't quite fit in with the rest of the flock. So there you have it, the science behind why flamingos are pink. We hope you learned something new. And if you did, be sure to like this video and share it with your friends. Thanks for watching.